What is up, YouTube? This is your boy Subliminal here again today with the Anvil Expo Hall. This is day 7, I believe. This video is also going to have my reactions to the new Drake ship that's going to be coming out on Drake Day. It's going to be my reaction to Inside Star Citizen. I'll put that at the end of this video, so if you want to watch that, it's at the end. If you don't want to watch it, then you can leave after the commentary here. So, yes, we're here at the showroom floor. Let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to give you my thoughts on all of the Aegis ships here on display during IAE, and we're starting right now. First off, we have the Anvil Arrow. I'm finally done testing light fighters, and I can say the Arrow is very maneuverable. Feels like the best pitch and yaw that I've seen so far in the game, but it's also very fragile. And I feel like depending on server performance, you got to be a pretty good pilot to be able to do an HRT with it. But that's just kind of how light fighters are right now. But usually the Arrow is meta. Currently though, it's not. Interceptors are, but I'm sure they'll get the balance right. It's still a good ship, so I wouldn't melt it, right? We got to give them time to get the balance right. Over here we have the Pisces. The one on the left there is the Pisces C8R. It's the medical variant of the Pisces. Pretty good. I'm gonna be honest though. I think this thing kind of died with the Nursa, right? I'd rather just put the Nursa in a bigger ship. And then this is the C8X. The C8X is the snub for the Expedition variant of the Carrack, and it comes with 2 extra weapon hard points, I believe, on the nose, or maybe it's the wings. I don't know. It doesn't matter. They're all the same size, and you get 4 of them instead of just 2. Again, excuse the freezing. I'm getting, and a lot of people are getting freezing here at the Expo Hall only. Everything else is fine. All right, let's go around and see what we have here. We have the Hawk. Flew the Hawk as well. Pretty much the same thing as the Arrow. It does have the EMP, but the EMP is really cumbersome to deal with in the patch because you lose your persistence on the MFDs. Like if you turn off the ship, like if you need to cancel your quantum, or I believe even just changing your operator mode can cause you to lose like what weapons are ranked are 1 or 0. You guys know what I'm talking about if you've flown these ships. So anyway, but yeah, it does a lot of damage. It's fun, but if you're not moving, you're dead. You got to be moving constantly. I have had a lot of fun with the extra difficulty, to be honest. Then we have the Terrapin. Terrapin I haven't flown yet in this patch, but it's usually very tanky. Some people actually do use it to do bounties and stuff. It doesn't have any powerful weapons or anything, but it's a exploration ship. It has a really cool interior. This like ominous looking chair. Yeah, it's exploration. Gameplay isn't in yet, but it could be a good ship to go do bunker missions, right? It's pretty tough. Can take some shots from those turrets, and it's got a loading like that wide open door can get a lot of people in and out at one time. So almost like a little mini drop ship. A lot of fan base, a lot of fanboys out there for that ship, just like every exploration ship. Speaking of fanboys, this is the only light fighter that I haven't been able to actually. Would you call it a light fighter? I don't know. It's a light bomber, and I haven't been able to test it because nobody owns it. I've had to borrow ships from viewers, and I appreciate you guys for helping me out, but nobody has the Gladiator. So maybe I'll rent it and just use this loadout that I'm not gonna like and kind of see how it does. But maybe I can manually take the weapons off and put them on. I don't know. I may have to try that. But yeah, it's a bomber variant. I've never liked this ship. To me, it's just better to get a Harbinger. It's similar price, in and out of game, and I think it's just a huge waste of money. If you own one, I mean, I'm sure it's, I don't know. It's just got what looks like 2 size 3 weapons on it, you know? And I forget how many missiles or torps it has. And of course, there's smaller torps. They're like size 5. I want to say it's either 3 to 5. I don't know. Maybe I'll put a thing that pops up to remind you how. But I've never liked the ship. I have a feeling it's just going to be not very durable in this patch. And let me turn the game volume down. It's not going to be very durable in this patch. And I think the durability is one of the most important things for a ship in PvE combat right now. And we have the Carrack. Awesome ship. Lots of cargo space. Huge loading ramp in the front. Medical bay in the inside. I mean, it's the Carrack, right? Its reputation precedes it. Let's go ahead and go to the next hull. Might be rentable. Let's see. Nope, not rentable. All right, this is the Anvil, the F8C. This is the F8C, a ship that they kind of said that they weren't going to sell, but then they did. It's awesome. I own one. I have not flown it yet because I haven't gotten the heavy fighters, but I could tell you, based on me flying a lot of other ships, this is going to be the PvE meta right now. Should be able to do ERTs, VHRTs, HRT, all of the above. It's a good ship. Good ship if you can get your hands on one. It's going to be kind of slow. It's got a huge broadside, but the amount of weapons it has on it is offensive. And this is the civilian variant of it. Crazy. I love the look of it too, man. Looks like Lamborghini built it. I love it. Let's take a look here. We got the Anvil Hurricane. Anvil Hurricane is a great duo ship. I would say I think I'd like the Scorpius better in this patch, but again, I haven't gotten to the heavy fighters yet, so I'd have to see. I think the Scorpius would be better, especially if you're solo. It's interceptor tuned, I believe, with 4 size 3 weapons on it. I think that's the damn deal. Yep. Definitely Scorpius is in this patch is going to outperform this. But hey, Hurricane is still decent. It's a decent ship. Hopefully when they get the balance better, once the game is better balanced, it'll be on par with the Scorpius. I like ships having that rival going on. In the middle, we have the Valkyrie. The Valkyrie is a drop ship. You can fit Ursa medevac inside. It's got tons of guns going around. It's pretty durable. And yeah, it's a drop ship. I think it just kind of gets outperformed by a lot of other ships right now. Like, I feel like I'd rather just cram a bunch of people on like an MSR or something. It's fast. I don't know. But it's really cool. It does have that cool factor for sure. The regular Hornets are actually pretty good. The base F7C Mark I is actually more nimble than the rest. And the whole more weapons that are smaller meta is no longer the case in this newest patch. You actually get more DPS if you just put a single weapon under the nose, under each wing, and then one large weapon up top. And that was actually the one that I did my medium fighter testing on, was the base Hornet F7C, because it has slightly better performance. So yeah, if you have a base F7C, pretty easy to kit it out, and it'll outperform a Super Hornet. And unless it'll outperform a Super Hornet. All right, here we have the F7C Mark II. It's got upgraded weapons under the wings. It still is going to be a very capable fighter. I'm willing to bet it could probably do ERTs in this patch as long as the enemy turrets aren't cracked. Yeah, I think it's a pretty good ship. And if you own one, if you finish the Overdrive initiative, then you'll get a free upgrade to our next ship, S7A Mark II, again. Even further. I mean, the weapons are crazy. You get like 7 shots with this thing when you put full power to weapons. And I love it. I had a blast yesterday. It's a really good fighter for doing ERTs in the game right now. One of the few smaller ships that can do it. And yeah, I love it. It was fun. I had a blast. We're going to see if it's available in the store in a bit. Let's go ahead and go to the next haul. All right, down here we have the Anvil Atlas platform. And to the left here, we have the Anvil Spartan. The Anvil Spartan is the people carrier variant. It's got like some drop seats back there in the back, little turret up at the top. I don't know about a ship like that, but it could be cool maybe land a Carrack off a site, have this roll in with a bunch of troops. We just need a reason to do that in game, and then maybe it'll be cool. Then here we have the Anvil Centurion. The Anvil Centurion basically has a remote hammerhead turret strapped to the back of it. Awesome. Awesome. Love it. It's really cool. Can be used for Jump Town to maybe keep some light fighters on their toes. Next up over here, we have a bunch of NPCs standing around the Anvil Ballista. The Ballista variant has torpedoes. Really good for holding down Jump Town if you have a crew. Drop some of these up on like the mountaintops around and hold the place down. Make some money. What can I say? Buy them all in game. Much cheaper than buying them. Just the alpha UEC to dollar ratio is crazy with the land vehicles. Buy them in game. Here we have a Frozen game and the Anvil Liberator. Anvil Liberator is awesome. I'm excited for this ship. It has like 3 landing pads on it. It basically is a small pocket carrier. If you guys want to know more about this, I did do a JPEG buyer's guide on it. You can find it on my channel. You can find it on my YouTube channel. Yeah, Anvil Ballista. Love it. Carries a bunch of small ships. Then we got the, is it the Liberator? No, not the Liberator. The Legionnaire. The Legionnaire. Legionnaire is a boarding variant. So imagine being able to hack into a larger ship like a Hammerhead, and then it has this docking collar that comes out of the nose here, attaches in, and you can send a boarding crew in to take over the ship. Really cool. Really cool. Not gonna see that one this year, maybe next year. Yeah, pretty cool. This is the Crucible. This is a repair ship. Has enough room to fit like a medium fighter in it for repair. Not too versed on like the older concept ships. I'm not sure where they are in the development with this one. Probably not very far at all, but seems like a pretty cool ship. We just don't really have a need for it right now. Maybe when Pyro comes out, it'll have more of a priority. But yep, that's all my thoughts on the ships here on display. All right, so we've already taken a look at the ships on the showroom floor. So let's quickly go over the pledge store, see what we got here. F7 Hornet Mark 1. Okay, so we got the Mark 1 F7. Own a legend. To the enemy, it was a weapon never to be underestimated. To allies, a savior. The F7 Mark Hornet. The F7 Hornet is the same dependable and resilient multi-purpose fighter that became the face of the UEE Navy. Say goodbye to the classic Hornet Mark 1, joining us as we stand with Anvil commemorating its venerated service. Own a legend. Okay. So are they getting rid of it? Bid farewell. Are they upgrading people's Mark 1s, or I guess not? I'm confused. Do I need to read all this? Last chance. With the ascendancy of the Mark II, now the UEE's premier carrier-based fighter will bid farewell to the legendary Mark 1 lineup. Invictus Launch Week 2954 marks your final chance to pledge for the classic M7 Mark 1 series, F7 Mark 1 series, along with the removal of the upcoming in-game, removal of it in the upcoming, wow, they're removing it from the game. What about the tracker variants and all that? Is it just going to be modular? The Mark 1 series will remain flyable and fully supported, receiving bug fixes and its planned gold standard pass. Okay. It will also be eligible for new paints and cosmetics in the future. There will even be other means to attain the Mark 7 1 in the future, though we're not quite ready to share those plans yet. Maybe it'll be doing something in game. I like that, if that's the case. Owners of the Mark 1 series will possess a usable classic vehicle, allowing them to showcase a rare piece of Anvil's legacy. As every pilot knows, the F7 series excels in a range of combat scenario, blah, blah, blah. Anvil Aerospace confirms the Mark II editions of the formidable F7CM, Super Hornet, Ghost, Tracker, blah, 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 will be introduced in the not too distant future. Okay. And they have a spectrum frequently asked questions. I'm not going to go over all of it. Okay, it looks quick. Will Mark 1 Hornets get their old gold standard? Yep. Will Mark 1 Hornets still be earnable in game? No. Will Mark 1 Hornets bespoke mounts still be available in game? I'm sure. Will there be Mark II Hornet variants corresponding to each Mark I variant? Yes. Okay. Good to know. Will we have in-game events that allow owners of the Mark I variants to get the free Mark II upgrade? While there are no immediate plans to this effect, there may be opportunities to earn upgrades in the future. Okay. How will the sunset affect Mark I Hornets tuning and balancing in game? Of course, they're going to keep it balanced. They said that if I exchange the Mark I Hornet in my web hanger, can I buy it back later? Yes. Okay. Can existing Mark I Hornet upgrades be used or bought back after the sunset? Yes. Can Mark I Hornets still be upgraded to other ships after the sunset? Yes. Who is eligible for the free Killian Blue Mark I Hornet paint? Pilots who have a Hornet Mark I in their hangar before today's announcement will receive a complimentary Killian Blue paint as a thank you for their patronage. I mean, I don't know what to think about this. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I'm not really too much of a fan of this ship. Outside of, I mean, it's a good ship in the current game right now, but yeah, I don't really know what to think. I don't think the community is going to be too pissed. And right, there's always going to be some vocal folks out there. But yeah, all right, let's go back. Let's go back to the rest of the pledge store. Anvil Arrow, $75. Like I said, currently not meta in game. I think you have a much better time in a Titan in this current flight model. Carrack, damn. I mean, you do you. $600. Centurion, never. Crucible. I don't know, maybe if you like buying JPEGs and really, jive with this whole idea. Not sure when we're going to see it in game, though. You can buy the Hornet Mark I. This is a collector's item, boys. F7C Hornet Mark II. Okay, so how much more? $50 more for the Mark II. It's all about back in the game, right? Hornet Wildfire. This was basic. What was this, right? Was it a skin and a weapons? Really, I think it just comes down to this being a skin with a different weapons package. You could buy that turret in game. I went and bought one from, I don't remember. I just bought one in game. So you can build that. Now, if you like that skin, then that'll be your last chance to get it. The Super Hornet, you can kit out a base one in game and be better. Tracker, I don't know. I don't know about these other variants. Not for me. Gladiator. You guys know how I feel about the Gladiator. Buy a Harbinger. Just get a Harbinger. A little bit more, much better ship, much better multi-crew. Now, all I need to do, in my opinion, to make it worthwhile is to slave those guns up at the top instead of having to put another person up there. And then it'll be much more viable. Hawk, $100. You got to be an expert pilot to take advantage of this. So just note that. Hurricane, I think this will be a good ship in patches going forward, but with the current balance right now, I wouldn't recommend. Just know you're not really gonna have the meta. If you want the Scorpius will be the only $120 to the Legionnaire, and I gotta let the dog out. Hold on, be right back. Legionnaire only $120. I think that's a pretty good deal for a specialty ship like that. If you want to back the game, always remember when I talk about these prices, I recommend people just spend $45 and buy everything in game. Every ship will eventually be available to buy in game. But if you want to back the project, Liberator. I really like the Liberator. That's a lot of money to spend on a ship, but if that's how you want to support the game, do it. Spartan, yeah, no land vehicles. Terrapin, I'm not into the exploration ship stuff, but if you guys are, it looks pretty cool. Valkyrie. Yeah, I just think we have better drop ships. Dude, the Cuddy Steel got a buff in the game. The hull HP on it is crazy. Crazy. All right, that's it for the Anvil ships. The Valkyrie is the Warbond daily deal, so you guys can upgrade to this and get the Warbond price. And that is it for Anvil. All right, YouTube. So I'm going to leave you now with my reactions to Drake's newly announced concept ship. It's a new carrier. It was announced during ISC, and you guys can watch my reactions to that if you want. If not, I'll see you guys in the next one.
It's part 2 of our Invictus Launch Week coverage as we look beyond the event to the new offering being unveiled at this year's Drake DefenseCon. The far superior brand excluded from the usual Invictus festivities because it's too damn cool. I said it, and I'm tired of pretending it's not true. Drake for life.
These sentiments were recorded in April before that rap beef stuff, and Disco would like it known that K-Dot is king. Hashtag Westside. Also, that David is the best. Woohoo! Now we resume the program.
Let's force John Crew to talk about it now.
Let's force John Crew to
So in the
talk
Star
about
Citizen universe, we have a lot of cargo ships, but they're sort of concentrated around the lower end of cargo hauling, sort of the low hundreds SU and below, and the very high end where there's multi-thousands. There's a mix of cargo ships which have their cargo on the inside, ones on the outside like the Hull series, and we really wanted to bring something different where it sort of sits right in the middle. It's a nice progression step and facilitates both internal and external loading of cargo, which is where the Drake Ironclad comes in.
That was a Kendrick and Drake reference, yes. Ironclad is rad. Oh.
Sean Austin subscribed to the channel on YouTube.
Thank you for the sub on YouTube. I gotta mute those though. Okay.
So the Drake Ironclad is the kind of next step up for Drake cargo ships. It kind of builds on what the Caterpillar brings, but in a much larger form.
The Drake Ironclad is a 6-person multi-crew armoured freighter. A large proportion of the ship is dedicated to the cargo bay at the front of it, which has both a front ramp for loading and unloading cargo and small vehicles on the ground, as well as a retractable roof for doing that in space with EVA as well.
Little tight entrances to cargo ships doesn't necessarily lend itself to when you're out in deep space and you're trying to quickly move some cargo from one person's ship into your ship. Really, you want as much kind of access to be able to do that as you possibly can. So by having this kind of much larger opening on top of the ship, it allows us to kind of bring cargo in much easier.
So its role being a sort of armoured freighter comes from two distinct ways. One, the cargo itself is more protected. It's within the cargo bay that has the armoured roof section that covers it. So unlike, say, a Hull C where the cargo's on the outside, you can load it from the outside but then protect it with the Ironclad.
It's also more heavily armoured than the Caterpillar, so it kind of gives a little bit more security to your kind of precious cargo.
The exterior is very classic Drake brutish style.
So it's almost like a Liberator, right? But from Drake. But maybe probably a little bit smaller, you know? Yeah, I mean, it's pretty dope. And this is cool because I like the way the Drake ship designs are going. I don't like the Cuddy Black. I don't like a lot of the ships they have in game right now, but all the newer ones are like pretty good, and this design is pretty cool.
A whole lot of engines and a lot of framework,
you know what I mean?
Quite thin structural elements support the rest of the ship. Very bare bones styling. It doesn't have lots of nice padding. It's all there and exposed, and it's really just sort of rugged and to the point. So the Ironclad is really 3 distinct areas. You have all the accommodation in the rear sort of third of the ship. The front 2/3 is really just this cargo bay with the front entrance and the retractable roof. And then you have the command module, which has seats for the crew, plus a few little jump seats for everyone else. Command module is there to steer the ship when it's attached, and the command module serves as the escape pod
also
as
probably
well.
be
The only time you really want to detach it is in an emergency.
Caterpillar.
It's not designed to be your sort of primary ship flying around.
It kind of gives you a little bit of a get out of jail free card if you're transporting stuff that is quite valuable, quite sought after in maybe some of our less desirable systems. What it allows you to do is kind of have a little bit of security. So if you're getting attacked or you're getting yourself into trouble, if you want to save yourself, you can kind of jettison your cargo and try and get out of Dodge and kind of get out to safety. And I think that's like a really important thing as we get closer to Death of a Spaceman.
With some of the recent tech that's come online, this brought us one step closer to implementing command modules properly. So not only will you see this detachable command module feature on the Ironclad, but as well it will happen on the Caterpillar. Interior-wise,
you've kind of got 2 entrances onto the ship. You can either enter via the command module, and that takes you straight into a kind of corridor section. It's kind of like almost like a mezzanine. You can either go up to the habitation area, which is top floor of the ship, gives you like super nice views out both the kind of cargo out the front and the rear of the ship, or you can kind of come down the ship into the main habitation area. Alternatively, you can enter through the dock and collar airlock, which is on the opposite side of the ship. At the rear of the interior of the ship, we've kind of got the heart of the engines. It's the big kind of engineering area where we've got all of the kind of main functional components needed for moving such a large ship. And then if you kind of come slightly further forward, we've got we call it the kind of like the command deck. It's not a bridge, you can't fly the ship from it, but it's where you operate the tractor beams. It's where it kind of gives you good views out over the front and into space. You've got the tractor beam turrets, but also, visually you can kind of stand in this area or sit in this area and look out over the front and over the bow of the ship and kind of really see what you're trying to pull in or what you're trying to capture into your cargo hold. As we come downstairs, we've got a little kind of covered area at the rear of the cargo hold, and that is where you can store a couple of small ground vehicles or some of your equipment for moving vehicles and cargo around. And then you're into the main cargo hold of the ship, and this takes up the majority of the interior space, is this large cargo hold.
This is looking
One of the things
like
that we were kind of really keen to do was give lots of different views and different angles down into this cargo hold. Again, as we're exploring slightly less lawful systems, we wanted to give the players as much opportunities as we can to kind of be safe aboard their own ship. So either side of the cargo hold, we've got these gantries that run completely front to rear on the ship, and they give great view down into your cargo bay. They also give that opportunity of if there's someone tries to board you via the cargo bay, it gives you some nice cover opportunities. And we've also got a few little windows that kind of look down into it as well. As you move to the kind of like the very front, the very nose of the ship, those gantries lead into a kind of secure cargo area. It's somewhere that's a little bit more difficult to get to when you kind of enter the ship. The big thing we were referencing when we were looking at it was this idea of police evidence rooms. And so these kind of individual cages where you could put your most secure cargo, whatever it might be, in this area, and it would make it quite difficult to try and breach in or out of that area. So it gives us just somewhere a little bit more secure for kind of smaller cargo items. Finally, at the very front, we've got access to one of the main turrets and the tractor beam turret.
Dude.
The biggest attraction for me with it is just the versatility of the cargo space. From a good citizen law standpoint, it is a cargo ship, but also that retractable roof and the tractor beams on board it give it some less legal opportunities for perhaps taking other people's cargo ships in space and on the ground. At the time of recording, we're also exploring a more military-themed variant of the Ironclad. It doesn't have the name yet, so we'll just call it the Drake
Ironclad Assault.
Compared to the base ship, this has been developed to support ground assault operations. It has additional turrets covering the upper and lower surfaces to provide more fire support. And the front section of the cargo area has been redesigned to enable our largest vehicles in game to be deployed from it, such as the tank. In addition, the cargo bay has been reduced in size to facilitate an onboard repair facility. So for those of you who want to have a journey in the cargo profession, traditionally you would start out in something, say like a Hull A. The next step up from there really is sort of into Drake Caterpillar territory. So you're doing roughly an 8 to 10 times jump in cargo capacity. From there, the Ironclad sits nicely between those smaller ships and the much larger bulk carriers such as the Hull C, and then ultimately you get to things like the Hull D, E and Kraken at the end of the cargo career.
You said Kraken?
Yes.
Was that a hint at anything?
It's not a hint at anything, but making the Ironclad makes the Kraken easier.
So building out the Ironclad does, of course, kind of help us with building out the Kraken. I think increasing that visual library of assets that we can pull from and use in a Drake manufacturer at the right scale is super valuable for when we move on to the large ships.
It means we won't get the Kraken for a while if they're going to build this first. It does look like it's almost a white box.
Of course, in non-Drake related news, players in this year's event probably noticed the long-awaited RSI Polaris touring around the Stanton system. Well, it's not quite flight ready yet, but we thought we'd ask the guys for a status update all the same and see if we can't get a closer look at the progress being made while we do it.
Whew. I had to be close.
We really want to have some form of the exterior of the Polaris at Invictus launch week.
We wanted to mix up the capital ships on display this year.
Being a big kind of military show, it made perfect sense to be able to kind of show it off in its best light. We've pushed quite hard to get the exterior to a point where we're happy to show it publicly.
This meant we've prioritized doing the exterior over the interior. So the exterior you see is pretty much final art. All it is missing is really the damage setup, as I'm sure people have tried to do. It is currently invulnerable, or hopefully invulnerable in game.
Visually, I think not only have we been trying to get it out so we can show it, but we've also tried to kind of really push the quality of the exteriors of some of our kind of like large capital ships. And what that has meant is that we needed to focus a few more artists than what we'd normally put on the exterior of a ship, just to make sure we kind of hit that quality bar and we hit it on time. It's pretty close to being LOD 0, which means that the majority of the main modeling's done. There's still a whole bunch of decal work. The finer details, what we call as POM details, pass needs to be done, and that really kind of helps to elevate the kind of like the close read. I think the distance read and the mid reads are like brilliant, and to be fair, the close read when you get up in personal is looking really, really good. It's just we've still got that kind of like final sprinkle of polish to go on.
With the focus on the exterior and pushing that as far as we could in the time we had, the interior is not quite as far along. It is more around the grey box stage, but the people we put on the exterior now will be moving on to the interior.
Normally on a vehicle, as we try to kind of keep the development stages in line throughout the kind of like the life cycle of its development, it means that the interior isn't, it's not at the same level that the exterior is.
We've been focusing on the core traversal areas of the ship.
The majority of the rooms have now been worked up. I think there's maybe 2 or 3 rooms that are still in white box that still need a decent amount of kind of modelling and work doing to them. But the rest of the rooms now are kind of getting to the point where we're pretty close to grey box.
So the bridge, the main corridors, the hab area, the cargo bay, torpedo rooms, and all the turrets. So these are a bit further along than some of the more secondary rooms like the brig and the medical bay.
When you think of the Polaris, like its key points are the torpedoes. And I think that's been an area that has needed quite a lot of iteration on, and we're not quite there yet. One of the things that we're kind of really trying to make sure feels good from a player's point of view is the kind of like the loading of the torpedoes and seeing them kind of be from in your cargo hold to being in the kind of like loading mechanism and then being ready to fire. So on the kind of like lower deck and front half of the vehicle,
Dude,
we've got these big torpedo loaders. And that's an area that it's needed quite a lot of iteration to make sure it feels right. And we are still in that process. It's not kind of fully signed off. We're not completely happy with that area, but it certainly kind of makes up the heart of the ship. Otherwise, on the interior, the main upper deck is kind of really starting to come on. The engineering section is another kind of area that I think is really important in our capital ships and kind of getting to a level that we're happy with. From the kind of concept into production, we have opened up the bridge of the ship a little bit. One of the things we wanted to do was when you kind of enter onto the bridge, this should feel kind of like super exciting and super rewarding to the player. If they've managed to kind of get one of these ships, we want it to feel like they are kind of really living that kind of military life dream. So we've spent a bit of time kind of opening it up, giving some nicer views as you kind of enter onto the bridge itself. What we really wanted to do was kind of make sure that the player views are good, the captain gets a great kind of view out the front, and make sure that navigating around that area, especially as kind of more and more kind of multi-crew gameplay systems come online, we want to make sure that there's enough space on that bridge to have not just the captain and the pilot, but a whole crew there.
Compared to the concept mesh, one not big change, but unresolved area was the hangar opening. It's quite a complex shape to open. So we spent a lot of time working on that, but that's all resolved. And then another thing we are looking at in the future is actually doing some more upgunning of the turrets. So it is not just a torpedo boat. It can sort of hold its own against other capital ships with its turrets. You'll see more of that as we get closer to releasing it, which we are aiming for at IAE this year.
So, what did we learn this week? Well, we learned that the Drake Ironclad is the next cargo ship from Drake designed to fill that gap between the Caterpillar and the larger Hull series offerings. That working on it helps to flesh out resources needed to bring the long-awaited Kraken to life in the future. And that the Polaris is coming along pretty nicely, even if it's not Drake, which we didn't learn was the best because we all already knew that in our hearts.
But Disco says KDOT is the best.
And with that, this very long 17-episode season of Inside Star Citizen comes to a close. We said we'd go straight through until Alpha 323 was out, and we did that, and then some more. And it's time for our team to take a breather, catch up on some admin work, and begin working on the next great season of ISC that'll start up again on June 20th. So for Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared Huckabee. Thanks for taking the time to let us share the process of game development with you each week, and we'll see you when we get back.
Welcome.
Let's go. That was funny, boys. That was good. Whew. Okay, I mean, that was a good one, huh? I mean, we got a cool Drake ship. Polaris is coming.
Military show, it made perfect.
Torpedo boat.
Need to take a breather.
Yeah, I mean, that was awesome.